It's blowing a gale platt today, so I thought I'd do a Q&A. But first I need to make a little bit of space in the garage, give it all a bit of a tidy up, so we can sit down and concentrate on these questions. All clean now, nice and clean. Right, first question is from my one and only Patreon supporter, Neil Ford. Thank you very much for all that you do on the channel, Neil. I really appreciate it. Neil's question is actually a couple of questions. What would be your ultimate overlanding adventure? And money and time aren't a problem, and you'll never break down. My ultimate overlanding adventure. Well, if money and time aren't a problem, I would love to get the Land Rover completely immaculate with a galvanised chassis, hopefully a engine swap of some kind, a 3 litre diesel, either an M57 or an OM606. Then I would quite like to ship it over to Australia and buy a brooder caravan or something similar over in Australia, do a little bit of touring around Australia, see all the sights and things that you need to see in Australia for a little bit, and then start making my way back home, travelling through all the different countries and just seeing everything that you can see along the way. That would be the ultimate overlanding adventure for me. I did see a post on Facebook a couple of days ago about a couple that had bought a Defender 110 and they were planning on driving to Australia in that. That would be like I say, an epic adventure. I'd really love to do that. If money and time and everything didn't matter, then that's what I'd love to do. Second part to Neil's question is what would be your ultimate adventure that is realistically within your means? I'd like to do the North Coast 500. I think that's realistically within my means. Just overlanding around the UK, to be honest. I'd like to incorporate it a little bit with the family as well, because spending time away from my family I don't want to do. I'd like to bring them along with me, so whether that be in the caravan or if we possibly purchased a bigger roof tent and did trips away in that. But yeah, the North Coast 500, but not the typical touristy North Coast 500. I'd like to do it sort of my own route, find out things to go and see and just sort of plan your way around as you go. You know, think that'd be quite nice. That'd be really, really good. Obviously you need the weather and you need plenty of midgy spray because they're evil little buggers up there and they like you to suck your blood. So yeah, probably the North Coast 500. And I'd like to do, I mentioned in a video a couple of videos back, I'd like to do the coast to coast as well, just purely on green lanes, driving from the west side to the east side of the UK. Good question, Neil. Next question is from Gareth Thomas. Question for the Q&A. What do you do for a living? Well, what I do for a living, I actually have 2 jobs. I didn't always have 2 jobs. When I first started the YouTube channel I only had 1. My original job was a gardener. I do garden maintenance, trimming hedges, cutting lawns, chopping trees, digging flower beds, planting, all that kind of stuff. Very much green fingered. I've done it ever since I was a little kid. My granddad did it and my dad did it, and it sort of passed down to me. I used to help my dad in my holidays at school, so I've kind of just carried on with that. And then I started my own business a few years back and went alone and did it that way. But with the UK weather, UK winters, it's very much seasonal work, so you're kind of restricted to what you can do in them weathers. and I found that the winters were pretty hard money wise. So a couple of years ago I actually reached out to a friend who worked in a warehouse near me and asked if there was any temporary jobs just to tide me over through winter. Turned out there was a temporary job, and I did it for a couple of months. Within the first week or two of me, the battery died. So they offered me a permanent job, and I decided to take it because it was shift patterns, which allowed me to also do my gardening work and work full time. So this other job, I actually work in a factory where we create vinyl. So the sign writing that you see on DPD vans and things like that, we actually create that, and I work on a machine and cut it down into a certain size so it can then go in a box and get shipped out to the customer. It's a really easy, simple job. There's no stress involved. No, yeah, it's just a warehouse job. There's nothing really more exciting to say about it. Is it my ideal job? No, but it pays the bills, so yeah. Anyway, that's what I do for a living. Next question is from Matthew Burgoyne. I hope I've said your name right. Matthew Burgoyne, yeah. His question is, what was/were the moments that really connected the dots between man, machine and the wider natural world in regard to your Land Rover explorations? Oh, well, I've always kind of loved Land Rovers and four-wheel drives in general. My dad's always had Land Rovers. He actually had a very early Discovery 1 200 TDI. 1993 I think it was, an L-Reg. I can actually remember the number plate still. It was L823WNL, and it was a white 3-door Discovery 1. I always remember that because it was immaculate. My dad really did look after it, and it was at a time when they weren't that old, so there was no rust. Yeah, so my dad always had four-wheel drives, and we always had caravans and things like that. And I just loved the whole experience of having a four-wheel drive, knowing that you can just go anywhere and never get stuck, never get lost. Whatever happens, you can sort of pretty much get out. What connected me to it? I think what really connected me was the first time that I took my Discovery out. Not the Discovery, actually. It was the first time I took my first ever green laning trip. I had a Freelander 1, the L series diesel, in white, and I loved that car. I polished it, I cleaned it, I made sure it was immaculate. And then I got talking to a guy that was quite local to me online, and he said he had a Defender 90, and he said, if you want, come out for a trip round the local lanes, I'll show you how it all works, and we'll have a bit of a trip out one day. So I was like, yeah, okay, fair enough, I'll have a go with that. And I loved it. It was brilliant. I was really surprised at how capable the Freelander was, considering it had such low ground clearance, and it's like a Mickey Mouse four-wheel drive system. Works off a viscous coupling, works on wheel slip. Quite a messy four-wheel drive system, but it works, and it's quite good as well. So we went out and did the local lanes, and I was really surprised at how capable it was, and it kind of made me it gave me the sort of hunger to go out and do more. But I wasn't very happy with the Freelander. With it didn't have a low range box. It only had just a normal gearbox, so I was quite bad with the clutch. I was riding the clutch quite a bit, and I didn't like that, and I wanted something bigger. And then I found the Discovery, and it was just perfect. So I bought the Discovery, and I didn't actually use it off-road very much. I only went out a couple of times, but I was shocked at how capable it was just standard. It had a set of all-terrain tyres, and it just went anywhere I pointed it. So that kind of kind of made it even stronger that I wanted to get out and adventure. And then I found rust and decided to rebuild the car, and got carried away lifting it and fitting bigger wheels and all that kind of stuff, and then started going out even more, doing more challenging tracks and things like that. And I love being outdoors, so it was a perfect way of getting me outdoors, and yeah, going on trips and seeing the countryside. I think the main trip that really got me was that got me into like overlanding, that side of things, was a trip up to Northumberland. I actually I didn't have any gear or anything like that. I just went and slept in the back of the car. I met up with a few local guys, and a couple of guys from over that way. Quite a famous YouTuber, photographer, Thomas Heaton. Met up with him, and we did a few lanes, a couple of days trip round the Northumberland green lanes, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed the whole aspect of like sleeping in the back of the car and cooking your dinner and cooking on the campfire and stuff like that. I just really enjoyed it, so that kind of gave me the bug for overlanding. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it, and I just want to do more. I want to do a lot more. This past year or two has been very frustrating for me because of the issues that I've had on the Discovery with the gearbox and the transfer box and vibrations that I didn't want, and it's made me want to get out a lot more, and that's the plan for this year, to really get out and see the country. Yeah, and hopefully bring the family along with me. Good question, really good question. He's also commented, for me as a scout leader and outdoor instructor, it was using my Discovery 2 down a few byways to wild camp with a hammock. So pretty much similar to what I've done. Obviously I haven't done any hammock camping. It really felt like a true adventure, conquering rough terrain, creating fire with a bow and drill, sleeping under stars. Magical. That's what it's all about. That is what it's all about. That's the aim, to just adventure and sleep under the stars and sit by the campfire, drink a few beers with your friends. Yeah, that's living. Good question. Last question is from Dan Boschetti. If starting with a stock Discovery, what would be the first 3 things to do on the list? Well, I would say the first thing is make sure it's mechanically and structurally sound. Make sure it's perfect, because that will eat quite a lot of your funds if it isn't. Then I would say maybe some decent tyres. Depending on if you're going to be doing a lot of water crossings. I live up in the edge of the lakes where it's very wet, and you're going through quite a lot of puddles most of the time, so I'd say a snorkel if you plan on doing lots of water crossings. And the lift, the 2-inch lift, I don't feel like I need to go any higher than 2-inch, but that extra couple of inch just sort of lifts you up above the rocks that can bash your diffs and catching on sills and stuff like that. I've found that with the lift you can fit bigger tyres, which lifts your axles up, because that's the aim. Get your axles up in the air, away from sharp rocks and things like that. So yeah, lift, tyres and snorkel. Anything else it depends on what you want to use the car for. This is the great thing about Land Rovers, they are very versatile. You can use them for anything. I went down the roof rack route because I want to have a roof tent. You might not need that. Things like winch bumpers, winches, all that kind of stuff, they're only necessary if you plan on using stuff like that and doing extreme stuff. I would like a new bumper on the front because I'm not happy with how the look of the Land Rover is, but I don't necessarily need a winch. I try not to travel on my own on unknown green lanes, so using a winch to recover yourself, it's not really necessary for me because I'll be with somebody else and we just make sure we tow each other out. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Just make sure you've got a good set of tyres. Decent tyres can really help a driver get out of some sticky situations. Yeah, so let me know what you think to this video. I may possibly do a Q&A video maybe once a month, just to try and keep in touch with you and answer some of your questions, and so you can sort of get to know a bit of me as well, because I feel like some of my videos I do come across quite wooden, and I'm a bit daft. I'm not a wizard, I don't know everything, but you know, I'll give my opinion. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Bye for now.